This is Bill Ryan from Project Avalon, and it's the date. I'll say it again. Let me start one more time. I'll tell you what you could do, actually. Could you do one of these hand clap things?
Yeah, sure. Well, 1.5 hand claps I can do.
That's the sound of 1.5 hand
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Very nice. So.
I'm the quietest clapper ever, me. I have to do it something like this.
You have to mind it. One of these days, those idiots on YouTube are going to get the hang of the fact that you've got arthritis and therefore you can't do proper handshake. We should do a demonstration on this video.
Yeah, this is it.
We're trying.
That's a Masonic handshake, ladies and gentlemen.
We're trying our best to shake hands.
It's a Masonic handshake between Masons who've got rheumatoid arthritis in their hands. You know, it's an old tradition. Goes back to Babylon.
So, this is Bill Ryan from Project Avalon. The date is the 19th of May, 2010. And even now, I can't quite believe it's 2010. You know, David, sometimes you must look back and you think, my God, it was in the early 1990s last time I looked. Time is accelerating. Do you find that sometimes?
I find it all the time, Bill. When I first had my conscious awakening in 1990, and I started meeting psychic after psychic who were just giving me the same basic confirming, repeating information. One of the earliest things that I came across was something that I called the truth vibrations. In fact, the first book I ever wrote on these subjects was called Truth Vibrations because of this. And it was, and my goodness me, there was no sign of it at the time, to say the least, that there was a vibrational change in the process of it manifesting. And this was going to, A, break up the density that was holding people in servitude, in the collective coma, if you like. And people were going to wake up and see themselves in the world in a different way. And the other thing, that it was going to bring to the surface all that had remained hidden. And again, you know, as we know, 1990, are you kidding? No sign of it. But look at it now. It's unbelievable, the number of people who are waking up all over the world to a new version of self in the world. And my goodness, how much information has hit the surface that wasn't there 20 years ago? How many, not 10 years ago, 5 years ago? It's an exponential curve. And one of the interesting aspects of this, which I, again, picked up in those early days, was one line through a psychic to me was, eventually time is going to pass so fast, it's going to be frightening. Because time and space, for me anyway, are not real. Well, we know that. They are a construct. If you take a computer disk and it's got information on it, and it's programmed with certain data, and you put it in the computer, that computer will read that data, and it will take that, if you like, digital level, information level, and it will put it on the screen as apparently time and space. And we're doing that. And the left brain is taking information and it's sequencing it. And the more quickly it makes that sequence happen, the more time seems to be passing quicker, and the reverse in the other way. And so, as people like Einstein said, if you sit in a dentist waiting room, then that sequence is not very fast. Oh my goodness me, God. And then you've got, I think it's in his analogy, you're in the company of a beautiful woman, and the sequence is real quick. What seems to be the situation is that this energetic change, as we change from an epoch of suppression to an epoch of expansion and enlightenment and awareness, is that it's having the effect of reality. The way we decode sequence appears to be being fundamentally affected. And I said in an article the other day, did April happen? Did we have March? If so, why did I miss it? Because that's what it seems to me. It's just extraordinary, the way Christmas... when was Christmas? I mean, 2 years ago? I mean, it's just amazing what's happening.
This awakening that you referred to, you saw that in front of your eyes at the Brixton Academy just a few days ago when you did your major new rollout presentation after the publication of your new book. And of course, this is why this interview is timed the way that it is, because let me talk to the the audience here, David's got a substantial amount of important new information, and in Brixton, that was the first time that you did your 8 or was it 9 hours? Talking about
8 hours actual talking, yeah.
That was a pretty big rollout, and you told me the other day that you were blown away by the response that you got from those people, whereas 15 years ago you were playing to empty chairs. Things have changed, haven't they?
Oh, it's extraordinary. You know, when I started out 20 years ago, despite, you know, not just the ridicule, the mass ridicule, but when I started to go around talking about stuff, of course I knew a lot less then now, as we all did, but it was like banging your head against a wall. You know, I would put the chairs out, no one would come basically, and then I'd talk to empty chairs and a few people, and I'd put the chairs back and go home, and that was a night. And you thought, no chance, this is going nowhere. But you know, as we all know, something drives you on. Something deep drives you on. Keep going, keep going. You think, oh, what's the point? Keep going. And over the last, particularly 10 years, I mean, maybe I started picking up really about 15, but then 10 and then 5, because the curve's going like that. It's just extraordinary, mate. I mean, all over the world, it doesn't matter what culture you go into. Of course, some are more suppressed and therefore closed-minded than others, but all over the world, it's extraordinary. You know, what I picked up in 1990 about these truth vibrations, this awakening, this the way this energetic change was going to break up the density that was holding us in servitude and ignorance. It's happening, and you know, you go through the years and you think, you know, it's all doom and gloom and all the rest of it. And when you look at the way society is going, if you watch the television news and read the newspapers, you would think that this Orwellian global fascist, communist, same thing, different name, dictatorship, this Orwellian global state, was basically a done deal, because it is moving real fast. And if you only come from the 5 sense level of this, and you only see, you know, what the conscious mind can see and perceive, then I can completely understand why people take that on. I completely understand why there are many, you know, researchers into the 5 sense level of the conspiracy who are just going, there's nothing we can do. But there is, because this world is not like we think it is. There are other forces at work. This so-called physical solid reality is not physical and solid at all. It's fluid. It doesn't seem to be like that, but it is. And because it's got this fluidity behind the apparent stiffness and solidity and immovability, it means that this level of reality can change very fast. See, when people perceive that, I completely understand it, because the conscious mind is completely giving us this focus of reality. When we think that the physical world has to change by changing physical things, then you're looking at time scales of change that are just enormous, as we perceive time anyway, because that's how it is in the so-called solid world. But when you realize that this so-called solid world is actually just a holographic projection, and the real base reality of this universe is waveform vibrating information, then the speed that this world can change suddenly takes on dramatically different proportions. For instance,